We interrupt this program for a KCTU 5 news alert.
Good morning. I'm R.J. Dickens. With me, Ryan Terry. Moments ago, a press conference in the City Council chambers at City Hall concluded. After 55 minutes of speech making, we finally came down to an announcement of what a lot of Wichitans have been waiting for well over 30 years. And it went something like this.
Yesterday afternoon, agents from the KBI, agents from the FBI, members of the Wichita Police Department arrested Dennis Rader, 59, a white male, in Park City, Kansas, for the murders of Joseph Otero, Julie Otero, Josephine Otero, Joseph Otero Jr., Catherine Bright, Shirley Diane Relford, Nancy Fox, and Vicki Weger. He was arrested for first-degree murder of all those victims. He's being held at this time in an undisclosed location. We will be approaching the district attorney's office next week, reference charges, to see if charges will be filed against this individual. I thank you very much for your support, and I'll turn it back over to Chief Williams. Thank you.
As I said, over 55 minutes of speeches before we got to that moment.
Yeah, it was a very, very happy day, a very optimistic day at City Hall this morning. I got there about 9:15 this morning. The conference was scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Security was fairly tight. They were certainly only going to let in who should be there. The family members, as said before, were there. They had a meeting at 9 a.m. with the mayor, the chief, district attorney, and others who were there. I guess that they were just getting briefed on everything. I'm sure they probably know a little bit more than we do, but that's their place. I just showed my press credentials, and they escorted me right down there. It was everybody was in very good spirits this morning. You can tell as everybody walked in, including State Attorney General Phil Klein, Nola Fulston, the Sedgwick County District Attorney, and of course Mayor Mayans, Police Chief Norman Williams, Sedgwick County Sheriff Gary Seed. Everybody just very, very happy and optimistic, smiles on everyone's faces. Chief Williams came up to the podium and said, "Today is a very historic day," and I think that on top of Mayor Mayans' opening statement that it's your day. And he was talking specifically to the victims' families. You could definitely tell that where this press conference was going to go. And certainly we were not surprised within a few short minutes that they had announced that BTK, the suspect that they have, had been captured.
Of course, I think what struck me was when the victims' families came in. One of them, who I've been casually acquainted with for practically all the years that I've lived in Wichita, I never knew that he was a family member of one of the victims. I mean, it was just something that never had been mentioned in all the years that I've been acquainted. He just looked and gave me a quick smile. I think you could see the relief on the faces of the families today. I think that was the one thing that probably struck me more than anything else, was just the look of relief, the look that maybe once and for all this is finally over. The alleged perpetrator, one Dennis Rader of Park City, worked supposedly as a code inspector for the city of Park City. He was stopped at a routine traffic stop for a little violation on his car.
Of which we really don't know. They didn't really give us any specifics on why he was stopped, other than it was a routine stop. I don't think it was by a marked car, from what they said. Now, it's very tough to speculate on something like this, and we shouldn't. But from what I heard, it was just just a routine traffic stop.
But it was apparently they'd had some information for some time. The police have been very, very tight-lipped. You stayed for the end of the press conference, and they really didn't answer very many questions.
I did, and you're absolutely right. They didn't. Nola Folston, the Sedgwick County District Attorney, hinted and said that this has still got to go to trial. Mm-hmm. There was no confession, which was something that I was kind of balancing back and forth whether or not they were going to have a confession, since they are making a very big deal about this, and a big deal it certainly is. One other mark with Ms. Folston was that all the murders occurred before Kansas reinstated the death penalty. So there will not be a death penalty trial. Whatever the verdict is, if it's guilty, they cannot go for the death penalty because it was not in place in Kansas during the time of the murders. Phil Klein was also there, who is the State Attorney General. He was very appreciative of the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office, of the Wichita Police Department, the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, Secret Service was involved, the Social Security Office was involved. Another thing that Chief Williams said, that he went to Washington, D.C. to meet with the head of the FBI, and said that when he came back, just a few days, weeks later, the head of the FBI called him and said, "Hey, whatever you want, we'll give you to help solve this case." And I think that that certainly played a big role, and so the Wichita Police Department had a lot of cooperation from federal agencies, as well as just the countless hours that the police department spent on this, especially Lieutenant Ken Landwehr, who got 2 or 3 standing ovations. Everybody very, very thankful of his work, and I think it's probably aged him a little bit. And like a case like this probably should, but I think that you could definitely see a sign of relief on his face to have someone in custody and a suspect at that. This is just a huge day for Wichita, and it's going to be on the national map for many, many days to come.
And of course, looking ahead, again, prosecutors were tight-lipped, law enforcement was tight-lipped, everyone was very, very tight-lipped about the information they had, whether they had spoken with him or not. Lieutenant Landwehr has said for months that he had always wanted to talk to BTK. This morning he wouldn't admit whether he had or not. Mr. Rader is being held in an undisclosed location.
That's correct.
So one would infer from that he is not being held in the Sedgwick County Jail.
I talked with Janet Johnson directly after the news conference. I had heard rumors going around the press room that there was a photo of the suspect going around somewhere. Janet told me that when he is taken to the detention facility and booked, then that would be available. But since that has not taken place, there is no photo.
Mm-hmm. And again, Rader is from Park City, worked in the Code Inspection Department for the City of Park City. Again, neighbors will have told you, I lived less than half a mile from him for the first 5 years that I lived in this area. I lived less than half a mile from him. Just on the, in fact, almost literally on the other side of I-135. But I never met him personally. But there were small townspeople talk. Were mixed opinions. Of course, he was a very, he was known to be a very active person in one of the churches up there. But there were a lot of people that said that he was the type of person that, well, one phrase that we've heard frequently, creeped you out. And so it'll be interesting to see how all of that comes out in the coming trial. Of course, no timetable has been set. The official meeting between the police and the district attorney will take place likely Monday, at which point then charges will be preferred and there will be a first appearance. Obviously, we'll do our best to bring that to you when it comes. The big thing is that there appears to be a significant amount of evidence that they will be able to bring forth. They've had the one of the things that Lieutenant Landwehr and Chief Williams and others mentioned was the way that the original detectives on the case had maintained the evidence so that at a later time, when they had the advances such as DNA and the other forensic evidence that wasn't available back in the 1970s, that the evidence was preserved well enough that they could use this modern technology to be able to finally have an arrest in this case. And again, it still has to go to trial. Obviously, there has not been a confession. Rader has retained Dan Monett, who is probably one of the most high-powered attorneys in Wichita, if not the most high-powered attorney. He's better known for some of the civil cases that he has prosecuted, one involving toxic shock syndrome, another involving a particular brand of hairspray that was alleged to have had some unique side effects.
And how did you come across Monett being retained?
Of course, other stations had reported it. He had been seen walking into City Hall and reportedly the Epic Center where Mr. Rader was being questioned most of last night.
Because the FBI's Wichita office is located on the 4th floor of the Epic Center. So anyway, whether we know for sure or not, there is at least high speculation that Mr. Monett will be retained for Dennis Rader's defense. Dennis Rader, he's again a 59-year-old man from Park City, worked for the city, graduated from WSU with a degree in administration of justice. That was one other speculation that a lot of people had, that had he done some police work earlier, nobody really knew, or at least he knew enough about the system to be able to cover his tracks, per se, for these over 30 years since the first murders occurred.
And again, the question that arises is, and one of the questions that is yet to be answered, was he trying to be caught, or what was involved? There has been some speculation. One of the things that supposedly has come out, reports are saying that a CD-ROM that he sent to police or was in one of the packages that was sent to the media or obtained by the media by other means, they were able to trace the specific imprint of a particular computer and then thus trace it back to him. That is supposedly one report that's out there. We can't verify it, but of course all of that's going to come out in the trial if there is one. And we assume at this point that since there has not been since their police are not reporting, are not saying that there's been a confession, and that they are being very tight-lipped and saying that this will come out in trial, we assume that there will be a trial coming up within the next few weeks. And of course, again, the other thing that you have to worry about is pretrial publicity. I'm sure they're not going to want, the prosecutors are going to do their level best to make sure that they can keep the trial in Wichita, to keep the costs down. They don't want to sequester the jury, to again keep costs down. If those two factors come into being, then you're looking at a trial that could well cost more than the entire budget for the district attorney's office, and would be a severe strain on county taxpayers. even more so than the Carr Brothers trial, which was which after you figure all the fees to defense attorneys, the bill on that may well end up being over $4 million.
And they pulled absolutely no stops on the Carr trial, and you can bet that they're going to go above and beyond that for a over 30-year serial murder spree. Basically, Nola Fulston did say one thing, that after today's press conference, there's not going to be any more contact with the media. And when they file, all the evidence in this case is going to be under seal for good reason. And Nola Fulston did insinuate that there would be a informational website for people to look at some of the documents that are filed in this case, the documents that are made public, probably to keep congestion out of the courthouse. All this stuff and we'll know more about this later when the website is built, but they are in the process, from what I understand, of building an informational website about this case.
And they will also have a private line for the media to keep us updated, which will, of course, help us keep you updated on this.
They did make a public line, public information line known. That number is area code 316-660-3707. This was given as all the members of the media were standing up on their way out. I think it was something that she just forgot to mention. But again, that number is 316-660-3707. That should give, I'm imagining it's just going to give overall basic information on the case and the process of the case, where it's at. So that'll be interesting to find out all those things too. It's just what a day. It's so much information, and I wish I was smart enough to process it so fast, and unfortunately I'm not. Todd Tiehart, our 4th District representative to the House of Representatives, made an appearance. He was a little bit late showing up. I guess that his plane just got in a little late as he was coming from Washington. He was there. Other dignitaries, like we said, Phil Klein, Mayor Mayans, the head of the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the head of the Kansas City office for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Chief Williams, of course, who led the press conference, and Gary Steed, along with Nola Fulston's chief deputy prosecutor and the deputy attorney, and whose name slips me at the moment.
Kevin O'Connor and Kim Parker.
Kim Parker.
Chief District Attorney, Assistant District Attorney Kim Parker, and Head of the Criminal Division Kevin O'Connor. Basically the same team that has prosecuted all the other the high-profile murder cases that we've had over the last few years here in Sedgwick County, will be in place for this case. Again, what we can tell you at this point, 59-year-old Dennis Rader of Park City has been identified as the person that the Wichita Police Department arrested yesterday in the Park City area, and they will charge him with the 8 murders that were committed by the so-called BTK killer, as well as 2 other murders that occurred in the Park City area that were a little more unusual, that have occurred in recent years, where they were much like the BTK killings, except that the victims were taken from the home, which the original killings were not. So we will see how that pans out. But that is all we have at this point. Of course, we will have more for you on Monday on Your Hour and KCTU 5 reports. And thanks for watching.
We now return you to regular programming.
Okay, take care.
Bye, take care.
Cheers.
Stay tuned for new Car Clinic adventures with Bobby as he talks about cars with the people who love them. For a virtual drive through Car Clinic country, visit our website at www.carclinictv.com. Until next time, think fun, think cars, think Bobby. Bobby Likas Car Clinic. Likas